Alpha, I feel like, was a pretty anticipated character when it came to Shadow and Eminence actually releasing in Grand Summoners Global. We saw some pretty good stuff here with the Arch Gen, with the damage buffing, the light res down. Everything looked really nice, not to mention the passive that was incredible. And ever since we finally got a hands-on experience with the kid, I'm wondering if it seems a bit different, if she doesn't seem as strong as she initially was, or if something else is up. Either way though, we'll find out today, thanks to Brian. He allowed me to use his alpha because I clearly do not have one. The main thing is that her passive, when she's near death, she heals all allies HP instantly by 100% and gives everybody damage res. This is actually extremely helpful. We'll talk about why in just a second. In terms of the kit, well, it's kind of standard for the most part. The skill gives you more art gauge if you're above a certain amount of HP. The art's giving you light res. The true art's giving you arch gen plus crit res. Super art's buffing up your physical damage, and it's able to keep stacking up physical damage every time you use it. Also, it refreshes the duration of it so you don't ever like lose it pretty much, which is pretty cool. And goes to her equip slot. She has a 5-star physical, 5-star heal, and a 4-star physical. If you want to know best in slot here for her, first and foremost, her true weapon is incredible. Highly recommend this in the physical slot. If you don't want to go the true weapon, then anything that's buffing up your damage, anything that's giving you art gauge will be great here. Now for the 5-star heal, this one is actually pretty crazy. Of course, you can use like the goated equips, Fina Devil Wings, Blessed Necklace. This 5-star heal also allows her to use stuff like the Mono Light relics. In terms of the 4-star physical, I personally would go with Grief here, or anything else that's buffing up damage or arch gen. In terms of best in slot for Crest, I personally would go with Attack Up and art gauge up. Now when it comes to team comps for Alpha, well, it's pretty simple. If you notice in the kit, she's really good at buffing up not only just arch gen, but also physical damage. So you could use her in, of course, any type of physical team to get a lot of value out of her. Or you could also use this character in any mono light team. The team comp we went with though was this right here. I feel like this is one of her best teams, by the way. With the BF Emperor, the Star God, the Senki, you're able to get a lot of benefit here. So much damage up, so much sustain, and just incredible work here. As you see, my boy got cooked. He got cooked pretty hard. If we look at the damage charts, unfortunately this time around, Senki with the most damage. The next thing we took her up against was Meet the Scout. I just wanted to fight something that was maybe a bit more challenging than that, because that fight is of course bugged in multiplayer. And I thought Rosetta would be able to do that just a tiny bit, since she does constantly just take away so much of your health. In this team though, we did take off the BF Emperor for Haruto. Now when it comes to actually playing Alpha though, it's fairly simple for the most part. I feel like you want to get into the true art as soon as possible, and then once you're in that true art, you're pretty much alternating between the super art then true art. You always want to make sure you're going back into that super art though. You don't want to let your physical damage buff fall off, because it does refresh the duration of it every time you do use that super art. And if you're in a fight for long enough, that damage buff can ramp higher than even a character like Hoka's damage buff on his super art. So it's definitely worth using it if you can. And that's kind of it. You know, if you're using more of a light attacker, then maybe you also want to use the art at times, because it does give light res down. But in terms of just how to play Alpha, you're alternating between the true art and the super art. And as you see, you know, fighting Rosetta here, it works really freaking well. Of course though, it's not all sunshine and rainbows with this girl, Alpha. Just like every character, there are some weaknesses and of course some huge positives with her. And I want to talk about those real quick, as we're just absolutely murdering Earth Rosetta in the background. Some of the biggest things about this character is, of course, we mentioned it already, she is a very strong light and physical support character. When it comes to any sustained physical character, I don't really think there's too many that are necessarily better than what we have here with Alpha. Not to mention too, with her being able to slot in as a light character with that 5-star heal slot is incredible. Talking about that 5-star heal slot, as mentioned before, does allow her to hold the light relics, which is massive for mono light teams. Her heal passive is also something that is just incredible, considering that it can completely invalidate certain mechanics, like Crest Ifrit for an example, where he does that instant nuke at the start of the stage. Well, since he puts everybody near death, well, Alpha instantly full heals it. Of course, she can arch gen, which is incredible. She's doing crazy work with that. The big one, of course, just like with most characters from Shadow and Eminence, she's a spirit, so she's able to counter any kind of human, god, and demon killer, which of course doesn't come up all the time. I understand that, but it is still incredible for you to just have that option in your lineup. That's kind of where the positives in, and the cons, I feel like, kind of, it's tough, man. It's real tough. For one, she's type E arch gen, so as you see here, we're using Hoka alongside Alpha, but Hoka doesn't even work with Alpha in terms of the arch genning. We're literally just using these two together because Hoka, actually, I have no clue why we're using these two together. Point is though, these two characters do not work with each other. If you use Alpha outside of like any type of team comp, let's say, and you have Hoka, there's no reason for you to use Alpha over Hoka. Considering that Hoka is faster than her in every single way, he's giving you more arch shin, and not to mention too, he doesn't have to ramp up his damage buff. Sure, his damage buff is lower than what Alpha's is maxed out. Hoka pops his super art once, and you instantly have a 300% crit damage buff, compared to Alpha, where you have to pop it 4 times in order to even get the 400% damage buff, which is the other part. She's a bit too slow. It's really good in sustain, of course, whenever you're able to stay in a fight for a pretty long time, but if you're not staying in the fight for a pretty long time, then this super art would never ever get capped out because it just takes too long to actually hit that. So in conclusion, I think she's very strong. I think she's actually a really strong character that could be used really well in Mono Light, and outside of Mono Light can still be used, but I don't think she's going to be seeing too much of the light of day if you have Hoka. Hoka is just too much of a presence currently in the meta, and even though this character does have really good arch shin, good damage buffs and everything, you can't really compete with that, man. That's pretty much it. That's all I think about this girl Alpha. You guys can tell me down below what you all think about her. Huge shout out again to my man Brian. Without him, this video wouldn't have been possible. If you enjoyed this showcase though, highly recommend check out either one of the other showcases we've already posted on the channel. Great content, guarantee you love them. Recommend you guys check those out because we are going to be making a tier list video here soon. Oh, and one more thing before you leave, don't forget to drink water.